Hello, I'm world famous biologist Claire McGinnis, and I'm here to talk to you about evolution. Do 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 do. Claire Show. Evolution is a theory that all species on Earth right now have changed and mutated to their state today from a single-celled organism. Let's ask some people what they think about this evolution. Evolution? What's that?
Corn? Do you have any corn? I want corn. Give me corn. I'll only speak for corn.
For our first story, we're going to talk about how a substance called germplasm can help certain animals evolve. Let's go to Dr. McGinnis to learn exactly what germplasm is.
Germplasm, or protoplasm, is a zone found in the cytoplasm of egg cells of some organisms. It contains determinants that eventually give rise to the germinal lineage.
What does that mean?
It's basically a substance that works like DNA, giving instructions on what traits the organism is going to have.
Thank you, Dr. McGinnis. Scientists figured out that embryos containing germplasm in some species are indeed much different than embryos that don't have germplasm. The original theory with germplasm was stated by Dr. Johnson, and he said that once a species gets germplasm, germ cells are independent of other cells, so constraints on somatic development are liberated, and this enhances a species' ability to evolve. After some DNA samples done by a few scientists in the University of Nottingham, this was proved correct. If an embryo has germplasm in it, is more likely to evolve and speed up the evolution process in future generations. Alright, now we're going to talk about Hello, and welcome to Science News. Today we have a super interesting story. What happened right now, right here, about these fish who have been swimming in hazardous ways, have been able to adapt very quickly. Let's go to one of our peers. It was crazy, miss. Absolutely crazy. These fish, they've been swimming in all this muck and waste for so long, but now, how have they been able to survive in it? I mean, it's crazy, ma'am. Crazy. For the past 40 years, manufacturing companies along this river have been pumping waste made of polychlorinated biphenyls and heavy metals into the river containing Atlantic killifish. These fish have been able to survive through all this muck and waste, so people began to wonder, how are they surviving? Some scientists wondered that too, so they did some DNA tests to see how exactly are these Atlantic killifish surviving. Scientists did some tests on the Atlantic killifish, and they found out that these fish have evolved to not have a functional receptor. What's a functional receptor, you ask? A functional receptor recycles through all of the waste that goes through a fish's body. But if poisonous waste gets into it in a fish, it spreads throughout the whole body, leading to the fish eventually dying. But in this fish, the functional receptor is not there, so all of that waste just passes through the fish, making the fish likely to survive in a hazardous environment. The perplexing thing about it is that these fish in this area with all the waste are different from the other Atlantic killifish in other areas. The other killifish still have their functional receptors, but the only Atlantic killifish without functional receptors are in this area, meaning that they have evolved and eventually might become a new species. Thank you, and this has been Science News. Thank you, Grumpy Cat, for explaining that. Next, we're going to talk about how these palm trees in Brazil adapted to the missing birds in their environment. A long time ago, these palm trees were everywhere in Brazil. And all these birds ate all of the seeds off the tree. And they were gigantic seeds, so they could replant as they fell on the ground. And so birds could see them easily and spread them. But then suddenly, these workers came and chopped down almost all of the palm trees. Deforestation. After all the deforestation, the birds figured out that they couldn't get enough food here, and so they flew away in hopes of finding new sources.
Goodbye, palm trees.
After only 100 years, we found out that these trees, over 100 years ago, started evolving to have smaller seeds because the birds stopped coming to eat them. So the palm trees started getting smaller seeds. The seeds that were that big are now this big. It's a big change over only 100 years. Now you know all the cool, hip, and new news about evolution. And thank you for watching The Claire Show. Claire Show!